We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, our clerk will read the roll.
Baylor. Aye. Connor. Aye. Freeman. Aye. Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Mosley.
Aye.
Neal. Aye. Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present.
Thank you. Instead of our traditional prayer this evening, we want to acknowledge that today our Jewish residents are celebrating Simchat Torah. Simchat Torah began today at sundown and will end at nightfall tomorrow. Simchat Torah is characterized by joyful dancing with the Torah. Simchat Torah conveys a clear message about the centrality of Torah in Jewish life. In Judaism, the Torah is the law of God as revealed to Moses and recorded in the first books of the Hebrew Scriptures. It is both a source of Jewish identity and a precious gift from God. Simchat Torah is the day on which the whole community gathers to come into direct contact with the Torah and to express joy in having received it. So on today, we celebrate Simchat Torah with all of our Jewish residents and wish them a joyous time of celebration. At this time, would you please stand as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance? I'm going to ask if Councilwoman Mosley will lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville. Passes 12-0 with one abstention.
Thank you. We have no items on the consent agenda for this evening. Before we move into our public hearings, we do have some special guests who are here with us. We actually have doctors of transfusion medicine here from the Ukraine, and I know that Adrian is here from Global Ties. If you want to introduce our special guest this evening, that would be great.
Good evening, everyone. I am Adrienne Clayton with Global Ties Akron, and we are here this evening welcoming our delegation from Ukraine who are here under the Congressional Office for International Leadership program sponsored by our Congress. So I will ask, I believe it is Vodan, is going to speak this evening on behalf of the group.
Good evening. My name is Bogdan Skulski, and I'm a hematologist from Ukraine. I'm going to speak on behalf of our groups, and we really appreciate the United States of America that they gave us this opportunity of internship to receive more new knowledge and more new experience to implement it in our country and improve our healthcare system, despite of the really poor time in our country, but we are doing our best to be better, and we are really grateful. Thank you.
As always, we would like to thank you all for welcoming them. The delegation is here for a total of 10 days, and they stay in the homes of host families. So they are all staying in homes in Hudson, Ohio. Our host families have showed them a wonderful time so far, and they had a tremendous meeting this morning at Akron Children's Hospital, and we'll be visiting many other hospitals in Akron, in the Cleveland area, and also going over to Pittsburgh. So thank you all so much for this evening.
Thank you so much for joining us. So welcome to Akron, and we hope that you enjoy your stay. And Adrian, thank you for all the great things that you guys do at Global Ties, so thank you so much. We do have 2 public hearings scheduled for this evening. Our clerk will read in item number 1.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, October 17th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to vary the required side and rear yard setbacks at 2101 Congo Street.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of council. Karen Dowling is requesting permission to vary the side and rear yard setbacks for the existing detached garage and house. The variance is necessary as she had unknowingly purchased the property with the breezeway that connected her detached garage and home, creating one large structure. This issue was brought to our attention when the petitioner sought permission to construct a pool and attached deck in the rear yard of the property. Upon discovering that the breezeway created the non-conforming structure, the petitioner sought to bring the property into conformance through conditional use approval. Petitioners are limited by the physical constraints of this corner property. The garage has been on that site since roughly 1960. It's well maintained and in good repair by the property owner. The connection of the breezeway to the garage will not be intrusive to neighboring properties. Planning staff and Planning Commission recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go ahead and open up our public hearing. Do we have anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against item number 1? Just going to ask that you please stand so that you may be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Good evening. Do you swear or affirm that the statement you're about to give is true, complete, and accurate? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And you are more than welcome to approach the podium. And just please give us your name for the record.
Thank you. My name is Karen Dowling, and I reside at 2101 Congo Street, Akron, Ohio 44305. And I bought the property in January, and later on, near the summer, as I was planning on putting a swimming pool and a deck in the side rear yard, I found out that my property is a nightmare, a code nightmare. So with that, I have been going to the codes office, the building, went to Talmadge down here 3 or 4 or 5 different times, and I'm trying to be in compliance with what's necessary and what the laws stipulate for me to allow to have there. And I have 3 neighbors here with me tonight who are in favor of it, and I have a total of 6 people here tonight who are in favor of me having this be granted. And I appreciate the considerations.
Okay. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor or against? Seeing and hearing none, we're going to close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what's the committee's pleasure?
I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. Kamer? Aye. Connor?
Aye.
Baylor? Aye. Mosley?
Aye.
For the committee is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Okay. Any further comment?
No, just that the ward council representative is in favor of this. The planning department and the commission recommended approval, so we're asking to move forward this evening. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0. Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, October 17th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a non-residential day programming drop-in center and to construct an addition at 450 Matthews Street.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of council. Reaching above hopelessness and brokenness, Rahab, is requesting permission to establish a non-residential day program drop-in center for women on this property. Additionally, the proposed 400-square-foot addition at the rear of the dwelling will extend to within 4 feet of the rear property line. Rahab has provided services at this location for women who may be suffering from either homelessness, intimate partner violence, chemical dependency, mental illness, and sex trafficking. The drop-in center offers women the ability to gather in a safe community, shop in the hygiene and clothing closet, or enjoy a free hot meal. The facility is open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Petitioner has stated that they have received a grant to construct a one-story addition, which will measure 20 feet by 20 feet for 400 square feet of area and extend to within 4 feet of the rear or west property line. The multifunctional addition will enhance the services offered. Since the majority of the clients are either transported or walk to the facility, the amount of vehicular traffic is minimal. Even though the proposed addition will take up most of the rear yard area of the lot, it will not expand beyond the sides of the dwelling nor eliminate any existing off-street parking. This non-residential drop-in center for women provides a needed service and is an asset to this Middlebury neighborhood. Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to open up our public hearing. Is there anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against item number 2? We're just going to ask that you be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Do you swear or affirm that the statement you're about to give is true, complete, and accurate? Thank you.
Thank you. And you can approach the podium.
Sorry, I was taking the long way around. Just wanted to say a few words. I've worked for Rahab Ministries for the last 8 years, and it's been a staple in Akron for 20 years. We've served 1,600 women and over 80 children alone in Northeast Ohio this year so far. That house on Matthew Street is a pillar for, it's our lighthouse. It's our ground zero, if you would, for our ministry. And the women in that community and women that are in correctional facilities in Akron see that as their safe place, as their community. And so this addition is more than just wood and nails and additional space. It will be hope and healing and restoration for women who desperately need it. And so thank you all so much for helping us along in this process and for considering this addition. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor or against? Seeing and hearing none, we're going to close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what's the committee's pleasure?
I'd like to pull a committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Okay.
Kamer? Aye. Connor? Aye. Baylor? Aye. Mosley?
Aye. Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, I know the ward council person, Ms. Mosley, is in favor of this. There's 3 conditions that we've asked them to meet. They've agreed to. The commission and the department is in favor of this, and this is it's a zoning, but this organization, the petitioners themselves, has got just an outstanding reputation. So, recommend approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
The ayes have it. Any opposed?
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue with our old business. Councilman Fusco, Planning and Economic Development.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to take time on 3 through and including 6, and there's a substitute on 7.
Yes, this is a substitute offered as an amendment offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to house up to 8 individuals at 327 South Miller Road and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. The recommendation of the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections with suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. I know the ward council person. I don't know if he had anything wanted to talk about in terms of this particular proposal, but I can turn it over to the ward council president. I know he's done quite a bit of work on it.
Sure. Just briefly, this will allow for the expansion of a residential facility housing aging adults with Alzheimer's and dementia and other related medical conditions. It's a beautiful facility that operates now within a residential neighborhood. I want to thank Chairman Fusco, who has spent a lot of time working with me and with the petitioner and with neighbors on this. I think it will be, a really helpful, needed facility, and really serve people and allow them to live with dignity and age in a residential setting. So really appreciate it and hope we can all move forward with this.
Okay, thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0.
Councilman Fusco?
Time on 8. In the request of the committee is to file items number 9 and 10. Those are the petitions of the 2 conditional uses that we just approved. 11, there's a substitute to be read in.
This is substitute offered as an amendment offered by Mayor Horrigan. Ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title 11 Business Regulations, Chapter 111 Regulations Governing Specific Businesses of the City of Akron Code of Ordinances to enact Article 37 Short-Term Rentals, to create procedures for the registration, regulation, fees, and enforcement of short-term rentals in the city, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. The request of the committee is to refer this item. Again, this is the short-term rentals. There's been a substitute, and there's some changes that have been made. I would ask all my colleagues to please review those changes in detail, and if you have questions, please let us know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The request of the committee is for time on the balance of the agenda.
Time will be granted. Rules, Councilman Freeman.
I have a substitute to read in for that one. This is substitute offered as an amendment offered by Vice President Fusco. Ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title III Administration, Chapter 30 Mayor and Council, Section 30.11 Limits on non-cash monetary and in-kind contributions and loans, and Section 30.12 Limits on cash contributions, to increase the contribution limits for mayoral and council candidates and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
I need to poll the committee and see if we could refer this item. There's been another substitution that's come in, so if I could, please. Fusco? Aye. Amobian?
Aye.
Connor?
Aye.
Malik?
Aye.
The committee requests to refer this item.
Thank you so much. This item will be referred. That concludes our old business. We'll now move into new legislation.
Item number 1 is offered by Mayor Horrigan, Vice President Fusco, and Councilwoman Amobian. Resolution expressing support for H.R. 82, the Social Security Fairness Act of 2021, and S. 1302, the Social Security Fairness Act, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
Yes, the committee's report's favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
And I would defer rather to Mr. Fusco and Ms. Amobian if you have something you'd like to say as well. Please.
Thank you. Thank you. This is, in essence, us, the City of Akron Council, expressing our support for House Resolution 82, which is in the House of Representatives and is co-sponsored by 305 Congress people. Was introduced in 2021, which is the Social Security Fairness Act of 2021. The 305 co-sponsors is bipartisan, which is important. This was something that was instituted, I think, in 1985 or 82 by then President Reagan. And what it did, in essence, was take individuals that were civil servants, our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, people who clean the snow off our streets, people who drive the EMS vehicles, people who and basically are civil servants, many of which began that civil service career late in their career or early in their career. However, though, paid into Social Security. And what happened in the 80s was they said that, okay, thank you for your contribution like everyone else out there, but whenever you go to retire, you're getting a public pension, so therefore what we're going to do is we're going to reduce yours, even though you pay the same amount as everybody else does. In essence, that's what happened. Is that fair? I don't believe it is, because they paid the same amount as everyone else. And if, you know, whenever you're younger especially, you're paying into that, you know, I believe that you're deserving at least an equal amount as everyone else had shared, because some of us had to work 2-3 jobs whenever we were younger, and we paid into the system. And so I believe this is fair, and I believe this is something that's overdue, and we do have bipartisan support, and so hopefully this will that this will pass, and that we'll be able to see this come to fruition. So with that, asking for council approval this evening. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I really don't have much to add to what Mr. Councilman Fusco said. I certainly thank them for the opportunity to join them on this legislation, because it never made sense to me. If you worked and paid into Social Security, you should be able to collect it, regardless of whether you're collecting another retirement as well. It's just an indication that you were just a hard worker working 2 jobs, and you worked enough time to benefit from both, and you should be allowed to do that. And certainly we thank Senator Sherrod Brown for being a part of this, because it really makes a lot of sense. Nobody's going to get rich on either one of these retirement systems, and you should benefit from what you've contributed to. Thank you. And I would like for this to be council and mayor as a whole, because I can't think of anybody not wanting to support this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we do have a motion on the floor from mayor and council as a whole. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So the rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobi, and Somerville, and the resolution passes 13-0. Item number 1A was the substitute that was already read in. Item number 2 is offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing the issuance of a bond of the city in a principal amount not to exceed $9,500,000 for sale to the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund of the State of Ohio to finance the costs of improvements to the city's wastewater system, pledging certain revenues from the city's wastewater system on a subordinated basis to secure the payment of the principal of and interest on the bond, and authorizing the execution and delivery of the bond, the trust agreement, and other documents, and the taking of other actions related to the issuance and sale of the bond, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman,
Committee's report's favorable, and we are asking for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
At the rate of 2.67% on a 45-year bond. That's what this is all about. This is making not just us pay for all of the work that's being done, but sharing that blessing with some of our grandchildren as well, 45 years down the road. So with that, we ask for its passage.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobi, and Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0. Item number 3 was a substitute that was already read in. Item number 4 is offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with the Board of Education of the Akron Public School District for the Community Learning Center's Akron After School Program in order to provide learning enrichment activities and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Thank you. The request of the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes. Thank you. This is a program that we have funded for over 20 years. It basically, kids after school, they're able to be taken care of. I believe they provide a snack for them. Tutoring is available. And they also, is also mentioned today, which is, I don't believe included in this, this is primarily the after-school program. I believe the funding is the same as before, I believe. Yeah, general funds. But also shared with us that there is a summer program as well that they have been offering, which is great. So with that, we're just recommending approval this evening. Thanks.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0. Item 4A was also a substitute that was already read in. Item number 5, offered by Mosley. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for a water pollution control loan, sign all documents for, and enter into WPCLF agreements with the Ohio EPA and OWDA for the construction of the WRF Process Control System Replacement Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee is requesting consent.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 6, offered by Mosley. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for construction of the WRF Process Control System Replacement Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Consent agenda, please.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 7, offered by Mosley. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for construction of the Sanitary Sewer Reconstruction 2021 Large Diameter Lining Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
The committee is requesting suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Nothing further.
Nothing further. Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0. Item number 8, offered by Mosley. Ordinance approving and confirming the appointment of Michael Wheeler as the alternate to Director of Finance Stephen Fricker, a current trustee to the Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority Board for a term ending February 28, 2025, and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you, Madam President. Consent agenda.
The committee requested to suspend the rules.
Oh, did they? Okay. Well, motion for suspension of rules with a favorable report.
Okay, thank you. Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended. Any further comment, Councilwoman?
No, nothing further.
Okay. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0. Item number 9, offered by Mayor Horrigan, Councilwoman Holland, and Councilman Malik. Resolution declaring the City of Akron to be an official gateway city to the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, expressing appreciation for this unique natural and recreational attraction and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo.
The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. So we do have a treasure in our backyard. It's called the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and we need to celebrate that, and we are recognizing that with this resolution because it is one of the top 10 destinations in the United States. So with that, we're asking for its passage.
Okay, thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the resolution passes 13-0.
Thank you. That concludes our new legislation for this evening. We're now going to go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. All those who have signed a form and wish to participate during our public comment period, just going to ask that you please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statement you're about to give is true, complete, and accurate? If so, please respond by saying I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So when you hear your name, please approach the podium and you will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. We're going to start with Samantha Blake. Blake, thank you.
Remind me when it is 3 minutes. Member present, I say thank you again for this opportunity. I want to talk about policing and refugee. I'm an advocate for refugees and immigrants in Akron, and given the award from the Institute of Akron, I'm a former refugee, and I want to talk about refugees and policing. We've realized that majority of our refugees have no clue of what is taking place in our community. They don't know what the police is doing, and being on surveillance every time and scared of their life and thinking that they're back into the refugee camp. So my request this night is for the city to reach out to the refugees and immigrants, and also bridging the gap that is between the refugees, because the city is doing nothing and there's a big gap that needs to be bridged between refugees and immigrants. Especially in the North Hill areas, we've realized that majority of our leaders are just there when it's come to occasion to make an appearance, but they're not there in their daily life, and the refugees are not aware of what things are taking place in our Akron. So I, being here today, I just want to bring it loud that we are tired and we say no to anything called appearance, but we want you to bring the refugee to the table and you to share with them the ideas. Thank you so much.
Samantha, thank you so much for sharing. Paranita?
Good evening, Council. I did want to thank Council for acknowledging today's holiday and explaining its significance for the Jewish community. Thank you for your efforts to make our body more inclusive. Secondly, I wanted to talk about the contribution limit increase. We all know that money has a huge influence in our politics, whether it be on the federal level, on the state level, or on the local level. By raising the campaign contribution limits, candidates and specifically incumbents will have to spend more time fundraising instead of legislating because there is a larger demand for campaign funds but a diminished supply. This means that candidates will be more willing to accept funding from PACs, special interest groups, big businesses, or take out loans. The result of doing this will push accountability away from candidates and toward unelected advocacy groups and corporations, which leads to a warping of our political system. A system where elected officials won't be representing the people who voted them in office, but rather representing their large donors, which usually consists of special interest groups or big businesses. Plus, this will deter people from running for office. It will widen the gap between incumbents and new candidates. According to the 2019 general election, there were about 122,000 registered voters in the city of Akron. However, only about 22% of those voted. Voter apathy is growing because constituents feel their voices are unheard, and the new limits will cause that lack of interest to grow even more since they do not serve the interests of our residents. With so many other issues the city of Akron is facing right now, including justice for Jayland, the housing crisis, tenant evictions, abortion rights, over-policing, climate chaos, and so much more. This is the last thing that we should be concerned about and passing legislation on. I would really hope that you reconsider your decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Paranita. Is Megan Lugo here with us this evening?
Ward 1. First, I appreciate the Gateway resolution, and I thank Councilwoman Holland for submitting it. I hope the city more robustly considers what it means to be a gateway community and accompanies this resolution with a more steadfast commitment to sustainability across all domains of government. Related, over the past few weeks, as I continue to research the White Pond Reserve development, I am plagued by a constant question. Do you think we're stupid? When it comes to White Pond, the answer is clear. Though some amount of misogyny comes into play, I know that other citizens experience the same, presenting concerns to leaders with corroborating evidence only to be told or it to be heavily implied that we don't know what we're talking about. Now, some of you may not know this, but I actually have a PhD in industrial organizational psychology. I am not compelled by words. I am compelled by data. When in light of the condescension from this city's leadership, I have sought to inform myself and find that data, one thing becomes clear. The emperor has no clothes. You all have no data, or very little. For example, you still can't and won't provide a traffic study. Why? Because you didn't do one and don't intend to. Indeed, Mayor Horgan in an email to me today said that the city did not have concerns about increased traffic, so a study was not conducted. Well, while the mayor may be optimistic, I doubt that is a comfort to the citizens who live there. And as a scientist and a citizen, show me that data. Now, I also study fairness in organizations. It is my area of expertise. I don't know how anyone could look at what happened with White Pond Reserve and think it is fair to the people of Akron. Developers were given at least a year to work on White Pond Reserve. They were able to craft a vision for acres of city-owned land, which when raised will represent 1/3 of the city's tree canopy lost every year. They were able to do their research. They were able to pour their resources into a project that would affect hundreds, if not thousands of us. You would assume that citizens would be given the same. A year to work with the city to create our vision for the future of our city with the leaders who were elected by and serve us for the lands that were owned by us. But you would be wrong. After the developers were able to take their time when it came time for citizens to be involved and engaged, you declared an emergency. We've therefore had at most a few months with time, public record requests, and a dogged determination being our only resources. And now that this has been pushed through, we have had to fight against our city's leaders to get them to even take the time to listen to us when they should be fighting for us when we cry for justice. Now, I don't think you need a PhD to understand that this is unfair. It violates all principles of equality, equity, and impartiality, the latter of which you swore to when you took your oath of office. While it's truly beautiful the extent to which you all cater to developers who don't even live in Akron, you were not elected by them. You were elected by us. I charge you with correcting these wrongs. It would only be fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Is Jody here with us?
Years ago from Zhash, Kiev, which was a suburb of Kiev. I'm glad she got out. Jody Delamater, Ward 1. Thank you for this first step into the Gateway community concept. Gateway communities are not just declarations, they're focused, informed action plans that include all stakeholders. Successful gateway communities think beyond conventional zoning. They use education, incentives, and voluntary initiatives. They use design standards, form-based codes, density bonuses, transfer of development rights, mixed-use neighborhoods, well-designed visitor services and facilities. Communities know they are in trouble when new development shapes the character of the community instead of the character of the community shaping the development. And since Tice Woods, see how everything's connected? Since Tice Woods sits on top of this gateway community, conservation of Tice Woods is the only logical next step. And I do hope that happens. I am not representing Preserve the Valley tonight, but if you are interested in what a true gateway community is, we have literature. I can give you one of these right now. I can send them all to you later this week. We have had public hearings on what a gateway community is. Some of us have taken webinars on the concept. The National Park has a wing just devoted to gateway communities. The information to do it right and to do it thoughtful that increases visitors to the area, it develops a new economy for the community that benefits the community by linking all of our parts to each other. For instance, Summit Lake, the bike path there to the National Park and all that, that is all related in this. And I know there is some work being done on form-based coding. We would like to know more about that before it's enacted so that we have input into that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jody. Reverend John Beatty.
Madam President and members of the council, I'm Reverend John Beatty, 2047 Wyndham Road in Akron's Ward 8. Recently, I participated in yet another protest against the killing of unarmed Jalen Walker by at least 8 police of the APD. One good result of this infamous, in my opinion, legal lynching was Issue 10. Thanks to all of you who voted to put that issue on the ballot. My wife and I have already voted for it. My prayer is that all of you will vote for it also, including the one who was honest enough to vote against it when it was before your council. These are the reasons I have for voting for it. Unchecked power, as these folks from Ukraine so beautifully illustrated, Mr. Putin, becomes corrupt. Unchecked power becomes corrupt. Under the present union contract, the Akron police have the ability to kill Akron citizens without any accountability. They can kill anonymously, badges off, without any transparency. I believe Issue 10 will be a step forward to bring accountability to the police department when a police officer kills someone while on duty, presently without any loss of pay, any demerits that I know of, let alone the loss of his job or jail time. I believe that Issue 10 will allow the citizens of Akron to be heard when their human rights are trampled on by some Akron police. Right now, the only way for the citizens to be heard is by marching in the streets. I believe that Issue 10 will enable police and citizens to engage in a dialogue instead of shouting past each other in the public media. I believe that Issue 10 will help the police to see black and brown citizens of our city in a more positive light than as the enemy. One policeman I heard said, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," when they were involved with the Wildwood area. Will help the police not to see black and brown citizens of our community as criminals or as dangerous, even when unarmed. I believe that Issue 10 will be an important step forward toward reconciliation between the black and brown community and the police, where citizens will see that there are good cops who genuinely want to protect and serve all the residents of this great city. Please vote for democracy, for checks and balances, for human rights, including the most important, life itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Beatty. Is Natalia here with us? Natalia?
Hello. So I have brought two friends along today who, after me, are going to be talking about their issues being evicted and having their friends evicted from the Mayflower Manor today and later this week. Several evictions went through today, and I was helping people pack up their grandchildren's belongings into bags frantically because they thought that their evictions would be stayed, but the stays failed despite the fact that the reasons for their evictions were wrongful in the first place. There will be several more evictions going through later this week, and very few of them are, in my opinion, legal. So after me, they're going to be telling their stories. They've come here and told their stories before, but their evictions have gone through officially now, so they wanted to come back with a lot more urgency now to please ask that you put a little bit more attention into investigating the property management of the Mayflower Manor. The residents there have been put in a labyrinth of confusion in trying to recertify with HUD, in trying to get their payments accepted, in trying to figure out why their rental payments have been denied in the past and then not presently, and vice versa. Nobody has been guiding these residents in trying to keep them housed. And now tonight, there are several people who used to live there who will be out on the streets the first night that it's snowing. And I really, really hate that. I feel like a big thing that could have helped prevent this is if there was a public defender or a team of public defenders available in the civil section of the Akron Municipal Court. Currently, there is only public defenders available for criminal charges, and I feel like if any of these people had access to any kind of free legal counsel when it comes to evictions, that might have helped prevent at least some of this. So if you could give these suggestions some consideration, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Natalia, thank you so much for sharing. Devonna White.
Hello, thank you for listening. First of all, I want to give all honor to God. He is the one that is holding me up right now. We think about our nation being so beautiful, and we stand strong on one nation under God. Yet, where is God in it? I can't understand how our beautiful city, or any city for that, don't understand the functionality of a people, of human, just being human. Like, a nation cannot function apart and separate and against no more than our bodies can function without one organ or another. I am a resident of the Mayflower Manor. I moved in about 6 years ago due to some life circumstances, and I'm sure most of the people there. In October of 2020, the third and second floor of our building was relocated and had to stay 2.5 months in a hotel. I'm sorry, I'm really shook because out of the group of people that had a hearing on October 4th, the only difference between them and I is that they got their door tagged the day after, and I had a week. So they had to be out today, and I have to be out on the 21st. And I'm trying to help friends. You know, you can bring your things to my house if you have to sleep on my couch, and I don't even have a place to go. The thing is that since January of 2021, when I got home, I hadn't even been able to grieve the death of my father before I started getting notices that were incorrect. I reached out to the property owner at that time. He came and he justified and made everything okay. The new manager left, and then a new manager came, and she again came with notices, and it's been notices after notices, and no matter what I took down there as proof, which I had so much of, and she just wouldn't take it, and she would rearrange dates until finally, when we're at court, she said that I never tried to talk to her. And I don't want to persecute her or condemn, but the lack of disregard and respect even when you're kind to her or just show her anything, it's just like, I wish I could have came better prepared with my speech, but I'm really shook. My heart hurts for these people. We need help. It's not fair. It's not. And there were so many cases with the exact same thing, but yet I wasn't even offered or given a chance to ask for a continuance that I didn't even know anything about anything. It's just a stressful situation. And me, with the faith that I have, I've held strong, but there are those in that building that I have heard, I have recorded, I have watched them be just bullied, intimidated through evictions.
Ronna, I'm so sorry, but your time is up. I want to thank you just for your courage of sharing, and please, after the meeting, stick around, because I'm sure there's council members who want to talk with you, okay? See how we can help. Jimmy Watkins.
I was not one of the ones who was evicted today, thank God. They've tried back in February, I believe it was, they told me that I owed $4,400 from a mistake that they made. I don't know who was here in 2017, I believe it was, when they decided to bring this group of thieves, criminals from New York here, and why they were brought here. Somebody didn't do their job investigating or what, I mean, we got online right after they took over, and it's all over, the reviews and stuff, and just from their own workers, you can see the reviews that were just all bad, you know, and we knew what was coming. But we didn't know how no clue what would happen. But it's been, what, 4 or 5 years of hell. I mean, it's just been literally hell. You got noises at 7:30 in the morning. It sounds like, I actually got an app that read the decibels on it. It was like having a Harley Davidson in your bedroom at 7 o'clock in the morning. That went on for about two years. And they still, and I live on the top floor, and the walls and the roof are still leaking. Everything they did for 2.5 years, 2 different companies, 2 years, 2.5 years, and the walls are still leaking. The plaster is falling off of my walls inside. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The things that disability discrimination all over the place. They prey on people's disabilities. They find out what your disability is, and they prey on that. I've seen them, I'm sorry. It's really hard because I just spent about 12 hours that I just got done here at 7 o'clock packing up this friend of mine and watching her go through it. And, you know, there's a lot of people, 90% of those people here have mental health issues, me included. And they just prey on those, and then to watch people's lives destroyed needlessly. I mean, there's no reason for this to be going on. You guys, you were elected to take care of the city's business. You guys are elected to protect us from these kind of people, and that failed miserably. I mean, failed miserably. There's a company down in the southern part of the states that does it right. It's called Navigates, I can't remember the last part of it. But I was reading some of the stuff on their Facebook, and they actually try to help people. Like a lot of these evictions today could have been avoided if they just had somebody there to help them instead of hurt them. I've watched them tow people's car. One guy's wife just died. He's restricted to a wheelchair. He needed his van to go for a doctor's appointment at 7 o'clock in the morning. He goes out there, and it's gone, towed. I can't tell you the number of people that got their cars towed out of our parking lot, what they pay for, because of nonsense. And it just, you know, it's just one thing after another with them, and they don't, they do everything you would think opposite of what you would think you would do for disabilities and senior citizens, you know. I'm disappointed in my city. I mean, I love this city. I really do love this city, and I'm disappointed.
Jimmy, I'm sorry, but your time is up. But please, after the meeting, stick around so that we can talk with you, okay? Thank you for sharing and bringing it to our attention. William James Reynolds.
Hello, counselors, administrators, audience. I'm going to go off script for a minute and say my heart hurts for the people I just heard speak. And it directly relates to what I have to say. My name is Bill Reynolds, and I'm proud to have called Akron the 3rd Ward, my home for the last 4 years. I have learned quite a few things in the time I've been here. One of the things I have learned in this time is that there's a lot of pride, a lot to be proud of in our city. From 20 years of Akron Marathon Series to the industrial history of Akron and its shaping of America, Akron also offers exceptional recreation opportunities, both within and around the city, which I heard some people talking about tonight. I feel like one of our biggest issues is lack of pride in how we do business. As a citizen, we can show pride in our city in many ways, either by helping to take care of the abandoned lots in our neighborhoods, getting to know and helping our neighbors sweep and clog out drains, or how we work with the authorities. The way that this city can show pride is in the quality of the services we give to the citizens and neighbors. The city should always be trying to excel in all ways we do business. In fact, we should try being the best at what we do. We will not always be perfect, but we will always be trying to find ways to improve how we do things. It should not take things going wrong to figure out that the systems need to be fixed, like out-of-date ordinances that conflict with state and federal constitutional rights, lawsuits against the city, to having an unarmed citizen shot 46 times by law enforcement, or simply by law enforcement not protecting the rights of its citizens. I think of to serve and to protect as most police departments vow. Yes, we probably will fail at times, but that is the time to wake up and fix how we do things. I feel we are taking a step in the right direction with the Akron Civilian Review Board, which I will be applying for. I feel like we should be expanding this program to anyone that works for the city in enforcing any ordinances and laws, whether it is animal control, fire department, nuisance compliance, health department, etc. I also feel that any employee enforcing the law or ordinances should have to wear a body cam when interacting with citizens or their property. While using body cams, the users should not be allowed to mute the body cam unless absolutely necessary. I dealt with a city department this past week who was highly unprofessional. I have another minute, but I know I don't have it, so I'll cut it at this.
Well, thank you so much, but stick around. I'll be more than happy to talk with you after, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. That concludes our public comment period for this evening. We're now going to move into committee assignments. Rules Committee, Councilman Freeman. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Parks and Rec, Councilman Lombardo.
145.
Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco. Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilwoman Mosley.
2 p.m.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman.
45.
Okay. Is there anything else coming before council at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One, in regards to the housing, if we could get an idea on where we are invested as a city with support for those issues. I know for myself, I know we have 2 housing advocate agencies here, but Vincent Curry has been, every time there's folks that need assistance, he's been very supportive. Just met with him and Judy here over at White Palm Villa about no more than 3 weeks ago. I don't know if he gets any financing from the city, but if we support him financially, he could possibly expand what he does and maybe even train others to assist. I'd like to put that out there. And then I see where we are having our, we're moving up our budget hearings from January to October. And you know, with all that we have going on in the city, our ARPA dollars, our regular funding, and some of the challenges that will be coming before this city in the next year because of some of the things that are taking place in our city. I think it's imperative that we have a real look at our city's budget. We're guaranteed to have a new administration next year. Whoever comes in has to start from scratch. After 20 years of leadership, when the new administration came in, they had a blue ribbon task force, but they didn't do an audit. Not to find anything illegal, but that's just good business practice to make sure that funding is what it's funding. And why am I saying this? My park in my ward was redone for the first time in 25 years. Your park, and I think Councilwoman Connor's park, is being redone, but that's being done with ARPA dollars. Keeping up our parks should be a part of our regular budget. Just like us with our homes. We know that at some time we're going to have to replace our roof, so we put that money in our budget. I'm concerned because Balk Street, I get calls all the time about Balk Street. Ms. Holland knows, Councilwoman Holland knows. Steam room not working, whirlpool not working, ceiling falling in. And those are just on the small things. So where are we really financially as a city? I had the pleasure of speaking with our financial director, and I shared my concerns with him. If we're not able to maintain our regular maintenance on parks and things with our regular dollars, and we're supplementing that with ARPA dollars, and then we have these initiatives that we're funding with ARPA dollars, and those monies are going to be gone in 2 years, 4 if you want to say, but really 2 years. Where are we going to be financially as a city? No telling how many of us will be here, but we know that more folks will be here than will be in the administration. It's just good stewardship for us to get an understanding of our budget. So council members, I looked, it's come in 7 times about us putting our budget online. We were supposed to have it online with the ARPA, with the website for the ARPA funds. Our budget is not online where our constituents can say, hey, this is where they want. We don't have a tool, our constituents don't have a tool to see what happens if we take money from A and put it into B. It would only be good stewardship for us to put in an infrastructure that allows us to have a good understanding of the budget as well as our constituents. Because as I mentioned, as it is right now, if we didn't have the ARPA dollars, how would we renew your park? How would we redo Perkins Pool? How would we do the one on the east side? And I don't know how we're going to do Balk Street. But it's during the budget that we come and we reason and we look at where, if we take money from here, how's it going to impact this part of the budget? So I will be putting in 2 pieces of legislation that will be coming in next week, again, for us to put the budget online. And remember, that company was going to do it at no expense to us. It wasn't going to cost us anything so that we could test it out. They'll still do the same thing. And I asked Mr. Fricker, based on the best budgeting practice agency that they're a part of, that was going to give us reduced training, if he could give us that information again so that those council members who want that training can get it. But I can't express how important it is for us to have an understanding of the budget this time around. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Councilman Malik, I see your hand.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank the folks who came down here tonight to speak about their experiences being evicted. I know that we all hear your pain and we hear your stories, and I hope that it moves us towards action on these issues. These stories underscore why we need a right to counsel program. Folks should not have to go into court and be expected to defend themselves having not gone to law school, not knowing the magic words that will keep them in their homes tonight. We have an example right up the road in Cleveland where people have been provided legal counsel. and a large percentage of them are either staying in their homes or they are able to negotiate an extended move out so they don't have to figure out where they're going to go in 6 or 7 days. We can do this. And we also should take the opportunity to evaluate the claims that are made about the Mayflower Manor and its owners and find out what mechanisms the city has to hold the operator accountable if they are not meeting their responsibilities, whether that be financial support, as Mr. Neal talked about, or whether that's enforcement by our own housing division. We should do that with urgency as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Malik. Is there anything else coming before council? I do believe we have a motion on the floor for adjournment. Is there a second? Okay, if there are no objections, meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.